to the Prophecy Club. We are going to listen to the audio of a DVD, but this is a really good DVD. Now, not very many people are going to understand this that haven't been listening and getting this kind of information from the Prophecy Club for quite a while. We're going to listen to Rob Skiba teach on some very interesting and powerful information, and it's about mythology, UFOs, and how that ties together with the coming great deception. We believe when the Bible says that there's a strong delusion coming, and it'll be so strong that God sends it, okay? It's a whopper. So strong that if they had not already come to the knowledge of the truth that Jesus Christ is Lord, they will believe this lie and be damned. And we believe that that lie will have something to do with UFOs, hybrids, aliens, and this sets the scene. This will really help you to understand some things that you're not going to get from your normal ministry out there. And sometimes, as Christians, we have to study. We have to show ourselves approved, a workman that does his work, okay? We have to, it's like tools, okay? Here's what we're going to do. In the past, we offered these 3 DVDs, Mythology, UFOs, and the Coming Great Deception, and Babylon Rising, 322 Tetrads in the Time of Jacob's Trouble, and 2045, The Year Man Becomes Immortal, valued at $90, and we've been offering them, first it was for $50 or more. And then we even had another gift offer where it's $40 or more. But if you call today, and if you say, I want the Christmas Skiba gift offer, you got to say the word Christmas, or look online at prophecyclub.com for the Christmas Skiba gift offer. Then you can get all 3 of them for a gift to the ministry of just $30. 3 brand new DVDs, $10 each. You can't get that anyplace else, guys. That is a Christmas whopper of a special. And I'll show you what I'm talking about because you're about to hear some really, really good information. Now let's go listen to Mythology, UFOs, and the Coming Great Deception by Rob Skiba.
And I believe the Illuminati is basically the counterfeit of the church and all of its daughter and sister organizations that come out of it. And that's how they do their work, just like the antithesis of how we do our work. They represent the one in the underworld, we represent the one in the upper world, right? Opposites. Okay, Revelation 9:11. Interesting number, 9:11. I actually believe that Jesus' birthday, Yeshua's real birthday, is certainly not December 25th. December 25th goes all the way back to dying and resurrecting sun gods and everything else. And you know what, Christian? We have to take responsibility for allowing that garbage to continue. Because there are atheists and agnostics and pagans out there who know the truth. And us perpetuating this lie prevents them from ever receiving the truth. Because they look at this stuff and they say, well, all the Christians say Jesus is born on December 25th and blah, blah, blah. And Ishtar is what Easter's all about. Easter goes directly back to Ishtar and Christmas goes directly back to Nimrod. And the pagans know it. So they look at the Christians and think, yeah, because you guys are fools. Your Jesus is a fraud. He's no different than Mithra or any of the other guys. And they put out movies like Zeitgeist where they say all that and they point out all the similarities. I'm screaming at the movie, yeah, but he wasn't born on December 25th. It's garbage, but we have to take responsibility for that. I've had many pastors that have basically disowned me and other Christians and missionaries because when I went off on this path, I'm bucking the system. They make all their money on Christmas, right? They get the most people in. They say, well, that's Christmas and Easter, we know, but that's the time when the most people come into the church. I say, yeah, but when does the Bible tell the world to come to the church? The Bible never tells the world to come to the church. It tells the church to go into all the world. So that's a lousy excuse to continue to perpetuate a lie. You just told me Jesus was not born on December 25th, so why do all the pictures behind me say, happy birthday, Jesus? With the phallic symbol of the Christmas tree in the corner. The Jeremiah chapter 10 says, don't do that. Don't go in the wood, cut the tree, bring it in, let's stand it upright and put balls on it. It's a phallic symbol. I'm not going to get a whole lot more graphic than that, but it's a phallus with balls and tinsel on it. It's an affront to God. Jeremiah says, don't do that. Okay? Finally, coming out of Babylon, when I wrote my book, I thought, great, I'm going to tell all about our troops in Babylon and Iraq and yada, 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 and I thought I was ready to close the book, and God said, You got to come out of Babylon too. I said, I'm not in Babylon. I'm in the colony, Texas. Yeah, you are in Babylon because you're doing all this stuff related to Ishtar and Nimrod, the two guys that God was constantly upset that the Israelites were whoring after Baal and Ashtoreth. The Asherah poles, all that stuff, read your Old Testament. It's always God being upset that his people are whoring, they're committing adultery with these gods that we're talking about right here. So finally, I just had to back up and get out of all that. I said, well, when was Jesus born? Does the Bible tell us? Yeah, it does. Revelation chapter 12 gives you a stellar sign. The woman clothed with the sun, the stars at her head, and the moon at her feet. Go to stellarium.org. Stellarium.org is a website. You can download the free software, and it allows you to track the movement of the stars, the sun and moon throughout history and into the future, whatever dates you put. Go back in the software. Actually, in my book, I give detailed instructions on how to do it. But if you back off to 9/11, September 11th, in the software reckons 3 BC as -2. Okay? I believe Jesus was born on September 11th, 3 BC. -2 in the software. So if the software reckons it as -2, and all the ancient people, going all the way back to the Aztec calendar stone, 3114, were pointing to December 21st, 2012, our Gregorian calendar is off by 2 years. So what everybody was really pointing to was December 21st, 2010. You know what happened on December 21st, 2010? That was the date that launched my ministry. My wife and I both. We're late nighters. A lot of times we stay up till 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, and so sometimes to wind down, we might go out for a walk or something, 2 o'clock in the morning. Well, this particular night we did. We went out for a walk, and 2:22 in the morning Central Standard Time, which is 3:22 Eastern Standard Time, hence the title for my next presentation. Hint, hint. Come back for more. At 2:22 Central Standard Time, a.m., the moon started to turn blood red. Went into a full lunar eclipse, blood red, for 72 minutes. What did I tell you about 72? Okay. December 21st, 2010, 2:22 a.m. 72 minutes, the moon went into a blood red lunar eclipse, but its location is what really caught my attention. Orion is the mighty hunter of the sky. Orion represents Nimrod, who was decapitated. So I'm looking at what appears to be a blood-red decapitated head floating over the shoulders of Orion for 72 minutes. Now, that's what I said. I'm like, honey, we got to get home. So we go home, and I start Googling like crazy. Well, there's a guy on YouTube. His screen name is Dutch Sense. Anybody know Dutch? Dutch deals with weather anomalies a lot and watches HAARP activity and earthquake activity and stuff like that. Well, he was freaking out as much as I was, but he was finding other things. He had posted a live video. He was live on the internet doing a live feed when I saw this of the internet seismic servers that check earthquake activity. So it's like all the servers on the planet on one website. All of them are going in the black, which means the entire planet started shaking as the blood red moon is floating over the shoulders of Nimrod like a decapitated head. Well, it gets better, because after I'm seeing that, okay, here's Nimrod's head, moon, 72 minutes, 2:22, 3:22. Oh, and by the way, while this is happening here, it's dark here, but it's daytime over in the Middle East, Iraq is announcing its fully formed government. So Babylon's hometown, or Nimrod's hometown of Babylon, is saying, hey, we're back in business, as his head's floating over his shoulder. What happened right after that? Well, they announced the 13th sign of the zodiac, which is Ophiuchus. Ophiuchus in the mythology was Asclepius. Asclepius in the mythology was known for raising Orion from the dead. Who's Orion? Nimrod. So they had the 13th sign of the guy who rose Orion from the dead as his head's floating over the shoulders. And then right after that, birds started falling from the sky in BB, Arkansas, or whatever it was, and fish started beaching themselves by the millions. Right? You remember that? And that happened all year, 2011. The woman got shot in the head there in Arizona and it dropped off the front page news, so everybody forgot about it. But it still continued. And the trumpet sounds, that's right. You heard the sounds all around. All of that started after December 21st, 2010, when that blood red moon went over Nimrod's shoulders. So I'm going to suggest the sign that everybody was looking for in the ancient world, really, our calendars are off by 2 years, and I believe that was deliberate. I believe those in the know, they know. They already knew. It wasn't just a coincidence that Iraq announced its fully formed government on the same day while that was happening. They knew it. It was all a setup. But on December 21st, 2012, it was a dud. If all the things I just described happened on December 21st, 2012, everybody would be talking about it. But nobody's talking about it because nobody was walking around like Sheila and I were at 2 in the morning and Googling. They missed it. Okay, so I believe Jesus' real birthday was September 11th. I don't believe it's an accident that Revelation 9:11 gives you the name of the Antichrist, Apollo. And they had a king over them, the bottomless pit. Where did the beast come from? The bottomless pit. Prior to that, we see all the locusts coming out. And this is the scripture that says they had a king. The locusts had a king over them, which is the angel of the bottomless pit, whose name in the Hebrew tongue is Abaddon, but in the Greek tongue hath his name Apollyon, which is a derivative spelling of Apollo. Who's Apollo? Nimrod. In 2 places, Micah chapter 5 and Revelation chapter 9, the Bible told you who the Antichrist is by name, in my opinion. And it's not Obama. Or George Bush or anybody else. Ahmadinejad, whoever, pick one. Putin. 666, we talked about it a little bit. 1/3 man, carbon molecule, 6 protons, 6 electrons, 6 neutrons. 2/3 God, 66.6%. Washington Monument, the largest phallic symbol in the world, just so happens to be 6,666 inches tall by 666 inches wide at the base. Yeah, it's weird. 666 all over this guy. Now, we have a warning from Jesus in Matthew 24, beginning of verse 23. Then, if any man shall say unto you, Lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. For there shall arise false Christs and false prophets, and shall shew great signs and wonders, insomuch that if it were possible, they shall deceive the very elect. Behold, I have told you before. Okay, I like that one right there. Some of the other translations, the way it's written, it's basically like, hey, pay attention, guys, because I'm about to tell you something. I've already been trying to share something. He's getting their attention with that verse. Behold, I have told you before. Right? He goes on to say, Wherefore, if they shall say unto you, Behold, he is in the desert, go not forth. Or, Behold, he is in the secret chambers, believe it not. Then he tells you what you should be looking for. He says, For as the lightning cometh out of the east and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. That's what we should be looking for. Then he has this really strange statement in verse 28. For wheresoever the carcass is, there will the eagles be gathered together. I found that very cryptic, and I was looking at it, I'm like, wow, what is that? What's the deal with the desert? What's the deal with the secret chambers? What's the deal with the carcass? Well, kept digging. Did you know, finding Nimrod, that the tomb of Osiris was found in 1999? Dr. Zahi Hawass says, I have found a shaft going 29 meters vertically down into the ground, exactly halfway between the Chevron pyramid, which is the center one, and the Sphinx. At the bottom, which was filled with water, note that the beast also comes out of water. When you're reading about the beast, comes out of the water. There's one that comes out of the land and one that comes out of the sea. Okay, this thing was filled with water. And we have found a burial chamber with 4 pillars. In the middle is a large granite sarcophagus, which I suspect or expect to be the grave of Osiris, the god. I have been digging in Egypt's sand for more than 30 years, and up to date, this is the most exciting discovery I have made. Now, this is what they found. This is an artist rendering right there on the left that shows when they went down the shaft, they came into kind of a large open area, and they went and found another shaft. They went down that and then found an area. They had 6 sarcophagus in it with a tube going down to another area. How many heads were there to the beast? 7 heads? 7 heads of the beast. You got 6 in one chamber and a lower one, a 7th right there. Okay, they went down into the lower one, and there you see the little red dot, red star. That's where they found it, between the middle pyramid and the Sphinx. On the right is an artist's representation of what they found. They found a moat of water surrounding a square island that had 4 pillars, one in each end. They had strange Egyptian writing on it, which I would suspect is instructions for something. They were there for instructions. And in the middle is another moat of water surrounding a large, about a 10-foot long sarcophagus. What did Genesis 10, 8, and 9 say? Nimrod began to be a giant in the earth. Now, they found a body in it. Actually, when they found that sarcophagus, it was already open, and there was a body in it. Everybody agreed this is not Osiris. What appears to have happened is somebody was loaded into that, probably with the hopes of being resurrected. Of course, it didn't work. But that's what they concluded. And this is their words, not mine. Underneath that, they described what they called the shaft of the bottomless pit. Okay, so this is 1999. 2003, The tomb of Gilgamesh was found. Now, they found the tomb of Osiris, which for all intents and purposes appears to be a resurrection chamber, but the body that was in it was not Osiris. But then they found Gilgamesh. They actually found a body in April of 2003 in the desert of Iraq. So what did Jesus say? If they say, behold, he's in the desert, go not forth. Or behold, he's in the secret chamber, don't believe him. You got both right there in recent history. Now, when did we start up the military occupation phase of Iraq? May. April, May of 2003. Is it just a coincidence that in April we find Gilgamesh, and in May we set up the military occupation phase under pretense of finding weapons of mass destruction? Now, we all heard that that was wrong, right? I would submit to you that they were actually not lying. They didn't find weapons of mass destruction. They found the weapon of mass destruction. They found the beast in April. And then they set up the military occupation phase, built the largest embassy of any other embassy on the entire planet, and built over 500 military bases in Nimrod's hometown. Interesting. Listen to what Steve Quayle and Tom Horn had to say about this particular find.
Imagine the startling proposition that the Nephilim, the giants, the mighty men of old, the gods and children of the Watchers, could somehow rise up, could somehow be reconstituted inside of a body. And, of course, I've discussed with you before my theory that one of the greatest legends in history could be a record of that having actually happened. And I'm referring to Nimrod, who some scholars also identify as Gilgamesh of Sumerian fame, Apollo of Greek fame, Osiris of Egyptian fame. And this Gilgamesh was a giant who a lot of people didn't even believe was anything more than myth until his grave marker was found a few years back. And then, according to some people, the military swooped in and took possession and control of that dig.
Hey, Tom, I want to interject something. I talked to a special operations general who validated that, and his words were he was in a state of remarkable preservation, okay? He said they have Gilgamesh's remains. So if they have Gilgamesh and he is Nimrod, they got it. And the whole point was to extract the DNA. And I've also been told that the whole point, and this is germane to what we're talking about, of the Human Genome Project is to locate specific genetic markers for the disembodied spirits to reanimate their host body that's brought back.
Very interesting, to say the least. Now, when we were leaving Washington, D.C., remember what Manley P Hall had to say about the eagle with the point on the back of his head? What is it? The phoenix. You got two eagles with the points on their heads right there. Zeus was on the far left. These two eagles were on the far right of the train station. And what I probably need to do is go back and read the story that's being told across the top. I didn't think about that until literally just now, but I'm going, they're probably telling a story left to right. But at the end, it says, let all the ends thou aim'st at be, thy countries thy gods, and truths be noble, and the nobleness that lie in other men, sleeping but never dead, will rise in majesty to meet thine own, in between two dying and resurrecting soul birds of Osiris. That's interesting. Well, we were getting ready to leave. We were driving down the road, and I happened to see two what appeared to be metal eagles, sculptures of metal eagles on top of pillars between some buildings. And I'm like, well, they look like they were looking down on something. So I'm like, well, let's go see what that is, what that sculpture is over there. So we did. Now, Manley P Hall, he tells you, the dying God shall rise again. The secret room in the house of the hidden places shall be rediscovered. The pyramid shall again stand as the ideal emblem of solidarity, inspiration, aspiration, resurrection, and regeneration. He's one of the most prolific writers of Freemasonry. This was his prophecy. All right, well, this is what we saw. When I saw on the top right there, you see the two eagles that I was just talking about, perched on top of these metal poles, looking down at something. When we went to go see what they were looking at, you see this big arm sticking up, and what's right next to me there is the head of a bearded god. It's a huge statue of a giant bearded god coming up out of the National Harbor in Washington, D.C., and the name of the sculpture is The Awakening. What in the world is a statue of a large bearded god coming up out of the giant coming up out of the National Harbor called The Awakening? What's that doing there? Hello? Well, let's find out. In the pyramid text, Utterance 5:12, it's one of the ancient Egyptian writings dealing with Osiris. It says, lead those who are in the abyss. Where does the beast come from? Bottomless pit, also known as the abyss. And command the gods, raise yourself up, hasten to your spirit. We see in pyramid text, Utterance 5:3-2. Raise yourself, O Osiris, you live, raise yourself up. Pyramid text, Utterance 5:7-7. Come, my child, says a tomb. Come to us, say the gods, to you, Osiris. He lives because the gods have ordained him, ordained that he live. And we see in the Book of the Dead, I am yesterday and I am today. I have the power to be born a second time. These are the Egyptian scriptures of Osiris. America's role in the last days. Many people ask, what's America's role in the last days? We are, at least at present, the world's superpower. So where are we? Now, again, I'm going to ask you, please don't question my patriotism, all right? Third-generation Army guy. Love my country. But I can't deny the evidence. My personal opinion is that I believe America is right there. Matthew 24:28. For wheresoever the carcass is, what carcass? Maybe the one that was pulled out of the desert? Maybe getting loaded into a secret chamber one day? There the eagles will be gathered together. Our national symbol is the eagle. And when I thought about my time in the military, man, our uniforms are covered with eagles from the top of our head to the bottom of our feet. Eagles on our hat, eagles on our patches, eagles on our buttons, eagles on our shoes, eagles everywhere. I'm just speculating, okay? But could it be that Jesus looked forward in time and saw a body loaded out of the desert, put into a secret chamber, surrounded by a bunch of eagle-wearing people? I don't know. I'm speculating. But it seems to make sense to me. Again, Ecclesiastes says that what hath been is that which shall be, and that which is done is that which shall be done. There is no new thing under the sun. What about this guy? I already told you I don't believe he's the Antichrist. However, isn't it interesting, especially before his first selection, isn't it interesting this guy's related to both George Bush and Dick Cheney. And mainstream news reported it. Yeah, Dick Cheney's wife was doing a family tree, Ancestry.com or whatever, and they joked about it. Isn't it funny? We just found out that President Obama is related to Dick Cheney. Yeah, that's funny. And George Bush. Okay. Isn't it interesting that every time this guy had a photo opportunity, the cameraman set the camera up such that there was something circular behind his head, so it always looked like he had a halo. They were trying to picture him as a messianic figure. And he's shown up on Newsweek and Time magazine and different magazine covers depicted as some sort of messianic or godlike character. One of them had him depicted as Shiva, interestingly enough, with multiple arms, just like the one outside of CERN. There's a concerted effort on the part of the media, which I would maintain is the propaganda wing of the Illuminati, to program you to think certain ways. Well, while he was making his rounds, in his early campaign, this guy was too, Anubis. This guy was touring the country for different photo ops, like in front of the equally pagan Statue of Liberty, who's this Ishtar, Isis, Semiramis, Columbia, same thing. And then they finally parked Anubis in Denver International Airport, which if you've done any research on Denver International Airport, high occult stuff going on there. They park Anubis, one of the gods of the underworld, whose job, after Osiris came down there and usurped his authority, he is now the guy that quizzes you when you die, according to their mythology. When you go into the underworld, he quizzes you to see which way to send you, where you got to go. And he was the god of mummification. And Osiris, who is Nimrod, was the first to be mummified. What did Steve Quayle say? The general said he was in a remarkable state of preservation when they pulled his body out of the sand of Iraq. Well, Obama also was fascinated by this right here. What is this? Well, this is the seat of Satan in Revelation chapter 2. It is the altar of Zeus that was in Pergamum, Revelation chapter 2. They relocated that from Pergamum to Berlin just prior to World War I, and then they moved it into a better facility just prior to World War II. Wonder why both world wars were started with Germany? Well, there's a good clue. And then when Obama finally went for his acceptance speech in Denver, Colorado, He did it in front of a replica of the seat of Satan. He went and made a replica of the seat of Satan to do his acceptance speech. And I was not a big backmasking kind of guy. You know, back in the late 80s and 90s, we had the traveling evangelists come and tell us all our rock music was evil, and they played everything backwards. You know, kill your mother backwards, you know, smoke marijuana, whatever. You know, and like if you listen to Christian rock, that was even worse. You know, rock music was evil, but Christian rock was even worse. So we'd have our album burning ceremonies where we had to bring all our records and tapes and have the big bonfire. So I was never much into the backmasking thing. But because I'm like, I listen to my records forward. I don't listen to it backwards. But there is something to that the occult loves to play around with, really. And when I first heard, what was his slogan? Yes, we can. Somebody on YouTube played it backwards, and it says, thank you, Satan. Now, when I first heard that, I was like, come on, they're messing, because it sounds clear. It's not like, and you think, oh, yeah, that's what it says. You know, somebody makes you think that. It sounds like, thank you, Satan. So, because he said it a very specific way, the way he inflected his voice. And so I'm like, I gotta try this myself. So I got my little recorder out, and I tried to do my voice the same way he did. Played it back, and my iPhone said, thank you, Satan. I'm going, okay. His whole slogan was, yes, we can, and his audience is going, yes, we can, yes, we can. Play it backwards, thank you, Satan, in front of the seat of Satan. Don't believe me? Go home, get your iPhone out, try it for yourself. When he went to Egypt in 2009, they had these plaques right here calling Obama the new Tutankhamun of the world. Tutankhamun? Okay, first of all, they called him a pharaoh. The pharaohs thought of themselves as gods.
Well, I'm going to interrupt the broadcast right there, but I'm going to encourage you to call in and get these 3 DVDs. Now, if you want to order just the one you've been listening to, Mythology, UFOs, and the Coming Great Deception, that's available for a gift of $30. Or you can get all 3 of them in the Christmas Skiba gift offer. That one plus Babylon Rising, 322, Tetrads, and the Time of Jacob's Trouble, and 2045, The Year Man Becomes Immortal, all 3 valued at $90, available today for a gift of just $30. But you got to call today, and you have to say the word Christmas. You say you want the Christmas Skiba gift offer, and you're going to get all 3 for $30. So that means basically get 1 and 2 more are free, so that is a whopper of a gift offer. Now, call 785-266-1112. I'll repeat that, 785-266-1112, or you can go to prophecyclub.com. Prophecyclub.com, Christmas Skiba gift offer, or 785-266-1112. Thank you for listening, thank you for your prayers, and thank you for your gifts of support. God bless. Now from the Prophecy Club, some exciting opportunities for you. Doug Hamp is author of 4 books and 19 DVDs on Bible prophecy and speaks around the globe. But the reason people listen to him is because he reads Hebrew and Greek. And he just made 3 new DVDs. The first one is a graphic look at the second coming in Armageddon. He says, moments after the heavens pass away, Jesus will come down to the Mount of Olives where his feet will break the mountain in 2. Then the Battle of Armageddon will begin in Jerusalem, not the Valley of Megiddo. Then the second one is the millennium, heaven on earth. He says once the heavens pass away, the earth is ruined at the coming of Jesus, then the Lord will recreate a new heaven and new earth at the beginning of the millennium. The third one is the final rebellion, Satan's assault against the New Jerusalem. When Satan is released after 1,000 years, he'll convince the mortals to rebel against Jesus and will stage a coup against the New Jerusalem. Then fire from heaven destroys the mortals. You can get all 3 valued at $90 for a gift to the ministry of just $40. And it goes for soul winning, and it'll bless you. 785-266-1112, prophecyclub.com. Ask for the Hamp number 2 gift offer.